The following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
The black extremists do not speak for the Negroes of Detroit, but they and the white extremists are pressing for a showdown.
You better quit running around here talking about loving these honkies to death. During rebellions, brother, you got to stop looting and start shooting. Black power, brother. Black power!
Both sides are recruiting for a battle they're prepared to fight in the streets. The July riot is only the beginning of what they anticipate. The black extremist argues there is no other way for the Negro. They want violence. They want people to be killed. If enough Negroes are killed, they believe, there will be no room left for moderation. All Negroes will be forced to join them as troops. Many whites are now more eager to join battle than we might believe. They feel it's time to force moderate whites to choose sides. If the extremists can divide the rest of us into two hostile camps, all of our hopes for the future will be lost. What did we learn from this? We learned that the Negro Revolution has changed, that over these last 2 years it has become a revolution of angry people, demanding not only rights but equality, demanding that self-esteem that is still denied them, that there is now a rage against this lack of dignity and manhood that runs throughout the entire Negro community, that up to now it has been a spontaneous, unplanned rage. But here in Detroit, it began to be controlled by black extremists. That these black extremists are willing and eager to risk a bloody showdown with white society.
We only got their stores this time. Next time, it would be them. We're tired. We've been pushed to the ledge. And all of a sudden, we say, well, it's either me or him. Look at them. They're wondering, what will it be next? Their home, their kids, them? Yes, this is what it would be. Them. Not us.
The black extremists speak plainly. They believe there is no hope for the black man in white America. They want to tear it down. They tell us they intend to burn our cities. How do we answer them? With guns and fire, as white extremists demand? With wholesale arrests? Will it solve all the problems if we lock up Rap Brown, Stokely Carmichael, and the other leaders?
Another Stokely would arise day after tomorrow. I don't think attacking leaders or attacking tendencies or people who express a particular point of view is going to change the conditions that exist in the ghetto. It is conditions that create people, not people who create conditions. Militants are expressing many of the fears and are expressing many of the hopes and aspirations of black people. So that the kinds of things that it sounds like to a person to whom this experience is alien, like the average white American, it tends to terrorize him and to frighten him. But it does not, as it does to the average black, represent the expression of these subterranean feelings, which he thought could not be brought out into daylight, which he thought could not be said without the world coming to an end. To listen just literally to what people say is to miss what is the main thrust of what they're trying to express. And they're trying to express this sense of alienation, this sense of deep self-hatred that has been created among black people.
This happened on 12th Street in Detroit in July. Next time, it could happen downtown or in your town. And we've learned this, that the old answers are no longer acceptable, that the old solutions will not prevent what has happened to our cities these last summers. Will our cities burn again next summer? Will more Americans be shot down in the streets of their own cities? I'm convinced they will be, unless a great deal more is done. And I don't mean the sort of thing we have been doing. I think we must say to the Negroes and the whites that this country is our joint possession.
The second thing I think we have to do is get a certain measure of income redistribution. It's too far from the bottom to the top in this country. Has stayed that way too long. A perfectly clear proposal would be to establish a family allowance, such as they have in every industrial democracy in the world, say the United States, a system whereby persons raising dependent children, parents, each month receive a flat payment to help with the cost of those children. Do it without social workers, do it without charity, put money in the hands of people and let them run their own lives. We've also got to face the problem of integration. If you were to put bets on any one thing, I think it would have to be that the largest single source of the difficulties of the Negro people in this country is that they are not allowed to move freely in this society. We talk about giving a man a sense of his own dignity and manhood. What manhood do you have if the fact is that you can only live in one part of the city? And you know it.
Yes.
So we always say in the Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary.
There is racial feeling that starts somewhere and it stays with most people, and we don't see that there's a white problem in this country that is the worst of them all. What's at stake is something more than the old problem of white and black in America. 40 years ago, every industrial democracy in the world had slums such as we've seen here in Detroit, had troubled, disorganized people such as we've talked to here in Detroit. One by one, the other countries have got rid of those problems. We have been saying we're going to get rid of these problems. We have been saying we're going to have full employment, we're going to have good housing, we're going to have equal opportunity. And it never happens. We keep saying it, but we don't do it. And after a point, the question is, can you do it? The issue is not just can we clean up Linwood Avenue. The issue is can we make this country function correctly. And if we find we can't in the face of this crisis, in this confrontation of this such reality, if we can't do it, the question is whether we really still control our own destiny.
As the nightmare in Detroit began to end, the press uncovered a story about 3 young black men killed during a police raid at the Algiers Motel. Murder charges were brought against a white police officer. 2 other officers and a black security guard were also implicated. There were no convictions. Days after the raid on the Blind Pig, Detroit had reached a tentative peace. 43 people were dead, 33 were black. Insurance estimates of property loss neared $50 million.
No society can tolerate massive violence any more than a body can tolerate massive disease. And we in America shall not tolerate it. But just saying that does not solve the problem. We need to know the answer, I think, to three basic questions about these riots. What happened? Why did it happen? What can be done to prevent it from happening again and again?
On March 1st, 1968, the Kerner Commission published a report that said America was becoming two societies, black and white, separate and unequal.
He could have used that as a springboard for more social action. Instead, he refused even to have the commission come over and present it to him.
President Johnson was faced with the cost of an escalating war in Vietnam and growing political conservatism at home.
Oppression doesn't destroy people. The acceptance of oppression destroys any people.
Two societies, separate and unequal. What lay ahead for America?